Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Recording in progress.
I can't get my.
This might be a record. I see a bunch of boxes. I don't know how many boxes I have on my screen. It's got to be almost 20.
That's a lot of people. Okay, that was a live Bill Cummings meeting.
open the meeting's special joint city council, Parks and Community Services Commission, Open Space Advisory Committee meeting agenda for October 12th, 2021. Please read the preamble to the meeting, and all people can participate.
Okay, thank you for joining us for the City of American Canyon City Council meeting, a special joint meeting of the City Council, Parks and Recreation Services Commission, and Open Space Advisory Commission. This meeting is being held entirely virtually in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to the Zoom platform, the meeting is broadcast on cable TV channel 28, on YouTube, and streamed live on the city's website. Public participation during this meeting is encouraged, and instructions for using the Zoom feature Raise Your Hand are included in the public comment non-agenda items section of the meeting agenda. The agenda for this and all upcoming meetings is available on the Meetings and Agendas page of the city's website at www.cityofamericancanyon.org. Also there is our new e-comment link where members of the public can submit written comments or pre-register to speak on any agenda items. All votes at tonight's meeting will be taken by roll call. Please be patient if we experience any technical difficulties, and this concludes my introductory remarks.
Thank you. We have a flag, please, for a pledge of allegiance. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you. We can take the flag down now, please.
Oh gosh.
There we go. Oh. Well, welcome everybody. Wow, this is quite a meeting. I'm looking forward to this. A lot of good stuff happens. Can we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to start with council members. Council member Abadamas.
Here.
Council member Oro.
Here.
Council member Washington.
Here.
Vice Mayor Joseph.
Here.
And Mayor Garcia.
Here.
Great. Moving on to Parks and Community Services. I have Honorary Commissioner Sela Munn.
Here.
Commissioner Gina Griggs.
Here.
Commissioner Karina Servende.
Here.
Commissioner Kathy Margolotti.
Here.
Vice Chair Kristen Einberger. And Chair Clarence Mamero.
Here.
Teresa, it looks like Christian's over in the attendee side of the house.
Okay.
Need to bring her over to panel. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to mark her here. Terry's going to bring her over. Then onto OSOC, I have committee member Scott Artis. I think absent. I'll look for him on the other side. Committee member Kim Hester Williams.
Here.
Committee member Barry Christian.
Here.
Vice Chair Tara McClitton Horner.
Here.
And Chair Nance Matson.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, very good. And moving on in our agenda.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me.
No.
We're returning from a closed session. I'll just indicate that I'll do a report upon return from closed session consistent with Government Code Section 54957.1. Excuse me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Moving on in our agenda, City Clerk announcement pursuant to Government Code 54952.3 is as stated in the agenda. Have we received any public comment on items not on the agenda?
We did. We received one public comment from Tammy Wong. And that's all I've received. I see no hands raised at this time.
Good, thank you. We'll continue with our agenda. Any agenda changes? From council? Seeing none, then we will move on to business. A pretty exciting Wetlands Edge Eco Center project.
Yes.
I'm sure we have a
And
lot.
Janelle Selleck will move her over.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and welcome PCS and OSAC commissioners and committee members. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I got so many boxes on my screen. This is a lot of fun. So we wanted to have everybody get together tonight to talk about this idea, and rather than having individual meetings and going around and around, we felt it was just more effective to kind of get this group together. So just by way a little bit of housekeeping, normally for city council meetings, we leave everybody with an open mic, but given the number of faces on the screen, it's probably better if you throw the mute on and use the raise hand feature. So that way Mayor Garcia or Teresa or myself can kind of keep track of that. Otherwise, run the risk of having too many comments, too many things going on. So thank you for that. I'm just popping open the agenda here.
Before we get started, Mr. Holly, I should announce, and I think Kathy Margolotti as well as our review of what might appear to be a conflict of interest. I have no financial conflict of interest or anything adjacent property at all. I am a ex officio member of the board of American Canyon Community Parks Foundation, a non-voting member. And we're not taking any action this evening. I think that would require contract or expenditure of funds, so I'm going to participate in the process. Ms. Margolotti, do you have anything to add? Go ahead, your hand's raised.
Yes, thank you. I have a written statement that I'm going to go ahead and read. Mr. Mayor, I serve on both the Parks and Community Service Commission and the American Canyon Community and Parks Foundation. Although my role on the Parks and Community Service Commission would be advisory, if that, I feel it's appropriate to acknowledge my membership in both the commission and the American Canyon Parks Foundation in line with my obligations under AB 1234. I have discussed the matter with the city attorney, who indicates that there is no conflict of interest or financial conflict of interest, but nonetheless, I feel it's appropriate to disclose my status. So thank you. If you have any more questions, let me know.
Well said. Okay, Mr. Holly, we'll continue with our business item. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. So this item tonight relates to an idea that has been discussed and thought about for a little while now, but is coming together, in a little bit unexpected way. But it's we think a really great idea, and we're ready to take some of the next steps. For a long time, the city has desired to move its more industrial type operations out of its corp yard there at 205 Wetlands Edge at the intersection of West Amcan Road and Wetlands Edge. It's existed there for a long time, far longer than any of the homes in the area, but is somewhat common these days. Once the homes go in, then it kind of creates a little bit of a conflict between these residential and industrial users. And so it's a somewhat outdated facility to begin with and not in the greatest location anymore. Although it's a beautiful location, not the greatest location for an industrial use. So, we've, for aesthetic and operational reasons, had a desire to move out of that facility. And moving out of that facility naturally brings the question of what next at that location. We still have to maintain a presence there because there's a bunch of subterranean utilities, pump stations, pipelines, critical infrastructure that can't move. So the operations that could move are all the above ground items, but the below ground stuff would have to stay. So we can't vacate the site and sell it or abandon it in that way. We'll still have a municipal presence there. We're trying to minimize really that presence or that footprint. And so, that's the kind of the backdrop at this location. And then we also have the backdrop of the Clark Ranch project, the Clark Ranch Master Plan, which is located a mile or so north of this location along Wetlands Edge at the intersection of Eucalyptus Drive and Wetlands Edge. And the Clark Ranch Master Plan from, I think it was 2016, calls for the creation of a new eco center, a regional nature environmental community center, a gathering place for education, a community space, classrooms, programming, exhibits, what the name that conjures up when you think of a regional center focused on the environment. And so that's in the current master plan proposed to be located at Clark Ranch. One of the things that we've started to think about is, if this is truly going to be a success, if this is truly going to be a regional draw, if we're truly going to be inviting school kids from Napa, from all over to come and learn about the environment and to come here, all of that traffic and all that intensity, is the Clark Ranch really a great place for that? Clark Ranch is a beautiful place, but it's also very difficult to get to. You have to go through one or more residential neighborhoods. The access for that sort of thing isn't very prominent or very easy to get to. So, and we've seen a real increase in the usage of the wetlands trails with the fitness equipment that's out there now, with the new elementary school that's there. The baseline of existing users out there, as a result of this pandemic and other things, has really increased. And so, when we did the Clark Ranch master plan, there was not any environmental work done. There was no CEQA analysis, no traffic studies, no usage studies. We don't know how many people will be coming and going, but it doesn't take a lot to imagine it being popular, and we want it to be successful and popular. And so we're sort of coming at it with that backdrop too, a sort of questioning, is that the best space for it? And then if you think a little bit deeper, the eco center, if it's a new build, if you're talking about a new constructed building, it's going to have an ecological footprint. There will be greenhouse gases emitted to produce the construction materials needed to build that facility. Regardless of what LEED certification you may be thinking about, there would be greenhouse gases, trucking the materials, et cetera, building such a facility. So what is more eco than repurposing a building? Being able to reuse and reduce your footprint, there simply isn't a strategy that gets you farther in that goal than reusing something that you already have. And so we start to see these puzzle pieces fitting together around this idea. We also have a partner in the American Canyon Community Parks Foundation, and Executive Director Janelle Selleck is here tonight. And they've been looking at ideas to create this eco center and want it to be a prominent role in doing that. And the City Council has approved an agreement with the Parks Foundation to begin negotiating this opportunity with them, a lease agreement, as we would call it. And so we have a proposal tonight, and we'll turn it over to Janelle, who has a presentation that she'd like to share about what the foundation is proposing to do. But I wanted to create a couple more contextual backdrops for everyone. The first of which is we're here tonight to listen to the panelists here on the board and to the members of the public. And this is the first step in what is going to be many steps in trying to gauge what we want to have happen at the Eco Center. We've sort of figured out the who. That's pretty obvious at this point. The Parks Foundation is the who that we're going to be proceeding forward with and negotiating a lease with, because there really isn't an alternative, and they're a great partner, and we couldn't think of a better partner. The where is still an open-ended question that hasn't been decided. All the signs, at least to us, are pointing to the reuse of the courtyard as the best where, for a multitude of reasons that I just kind of touched on. We want to kind of get that confirmed, because before we can really launch into lease negotiations, we do really have to settle the where. You can't negotiate a lease if you don't know where the lease is applying to. So we want to kind of settle that a little bit tonight before we launch into these lease negotiations. But the biggest part of what we're wanting to do is to hear the what. What does the Eco Center mean to you? What does it mean to the public? What have you heard from constituents in the community about what they would like? The ACCPF has a proposal about what they would like to do, but there are other potential users of the site. There are potential other amenities at the courtyard site that would not be part of what ACCPF is proposing. For example, we know there's a large interest in having a kayak launch at this location, and we think the ACCPF would be really supportive of that concept. That's not something they're wanting to undertake. It's not in their wheelhouse to go and develop something like that. So, they're smartly knowing what they're good at and what they're not set up to do, and not proposing to do everything. But if the city or some other entity wanted to come in and create, for example, a kayak launch here, that is all still within the realm of possibilities. regardless of how the lease negotiations proceed. And it's still very much one of our interests. So that, for example, and also some of the wetlands opportunities there. There's an existing overflow pond, and there's some other areas around the corporation yard that we think could be reestablished into natural habitat and wetlands. And we're studying those right now on how that could actually come to fruition. Again, not something ACCPF is interested in taking the lead on, very supportive of, but not in their wheelhouse to do. So, one of the main purposes tonight is to really hear from the community and from the group here, what are your sort of visions for the Eco Center, and to hear, what the Parks Foundation has planned. It's not the end all be all of what the Parks Foundation has planned, because others can come in and do other things. But we wanted to, again, distill that public input and to hear what they have to say. So with that, Janelle, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and we'll have a presentation from Janelle Selleck.
Very good.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, everyone. I'm Janelle Selleck, Executive Director of the American Canyon Community and Parks Foundation. Really excited to be here tonight. I want to take a minute and thank Council, Open Space Advisory Committee, all the Parks Commission members, the city staff, and all the public that's listening in. Gosh, we're just really excited about being able to share our vision about this project, and also to be able to hear from the community about your ideas and see what you have to say and what you think. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, if you give me 1 second here. I had to re-up everything a moment ago because I was having some technical trouble, so give me 1 second. Put up here. And slideshow. Okay. Here we go. Can you guys still hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you. So I have a short slideshow prepared for this evening, as well as a little video at the end that I'd love to share with you. And this is really just about our big vision. We've been saying over this past year, as we started thinking about this idea, that this is a time we're really thinking big, and we invite the community to come along on this journey with us, because it certainly is a journey. This is bigger than anything that we've ever done, but I feel like it's all signs are pointing in this direction, and so we're really looking forward to working alongside city staff and the community to see this project implemented. So this is, of course, one of the renderings that you've probably seen already. So before I get into the project itself, just a short recap of the foundation and where we started and sort of where we are now over the past 6 years. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We were established in 2015 by a group of volunteers. It was actually Matt Plate and I who were Parks Commissioners at the time, and this spun off of a need from identified in the Parks Master Plan. So our mission that we started with and still exists today is dedicated to enhancing parks programs and play in our community. And all of these sort of orange blocks that you see here are examples of programs and projects that we've done. This isn't all of them, but this is certainly just a snapshot of some of the bigger things that we've done. And they really all fit nicely into these three tenets of parks programs and play. So for example, parks improvements. Some of the more visible things that we've done in the community, such as the wetlands drinking fountain, the fitness center out there at the wetlands corner, the recent installation of the story walk at Shenandoah Park, and even things like the public art, Heart Your Parks public art walk that we did last February, volunteer projects, some of which we've implemented on our own, others of which we've supported the city on. We've installed new benches and picnic tables, and we continue on an ongoing basis to manage the bench sponsorship program on behalf of the city. Community programs, what we do is we really look for service gaps in the community, and then we decide if and how we can help. So one of the first things that we really realized back in 2015, 2016 is the need for more environmental education and hands-on learning opportunities. So we developed programs such as Watershed Explorers, which get kids out of the classroom and into the wetlands for hands-on learning. That started just before COVID, so we transitioned it to virtual, and now we're looking at bringing it back in a post-COVID world. A variety of after-school enrichment programs. So prior to COVID, we were running about 5 to 6 different types or different themes of after-school enrichment programs at all 3 elementary schools in American Canyon, and some really cool subjects such as bird watching, garden science, Lego engineering, art, music, chess, and we partnered with different organizations to bring these programs to the school campuses after school. Throughout the year, we do a variety of interpretive hikes, the Park and Play mobile recreation van. Curiosity Kids was a COVID-based outdoor science program that we're now taking in person. Wetlands Coffee Mornings, mark your calendar for next Sunday, October 17th. We have a coffee morning coming right up, and much more. So with all the programs that we do, we really look at how we can use the outdoors as a tool to improve community health, children's education, and social opportunities. And then finally, that third tenet that we really work on is Play for All, which is very equity and accessibility based. So we do fund the city's Parks and Recreation Scholarship Program for activities such as swim lessons, sports, and summer camps. We provide community sponsorships, and we also give back to mission-aligned organizations through a small community giving program. So we've really focused on building the parks and types of programs that we would want for our own children in the community. And finally, we really want to share that passion for the outdoors with the general public. Excuse me, okay. So over the past few years, we've become very effective and experienced in identifying service gaps in the community, and then developing and delivering and sustaining new programs to fill those needs. So really the Eco Center is a natural next step for us, and we're excited to see what it can bring to the community. So our vision for the center really is that it's community-based, and that means that it serves the American Canyon community and beyond. So the kids, families, and seniors of American Canyon, it's friendly and welcoming with no specific memberships or restrictions involved. It's really a community organization. It's by our community, for our community. The environmental movement is stronger and more successful when diversity, equity, and inclusion is the norm. So we look forward to learning more about how our diverse community values conservation and the environment. And we really do believe that that in American Canyon, we can harness the power of diversity to strengthen the conservation movement. And there's just really nothing like this in the broader Napa County area. And so we really envision this as a regional hub for environmental education. And we've worked with a lot of different partners that are doing great outdoor science and outdoor education programs throughout the Napa County. And we look forward to working with them and continuing that relationship and providing a home base for all of these programs. And finally, equitable access to education, nature, art, and science programs, which really goes back to that Parks for All, Play for All tenet, and that we strive to make these available for anyone in the community. So in short, this is really all about where nature meets community. And so features, there's so many different things that we can provide at this center. It's hard to really even list them all, but a few things that come to mind right off the bat. Of course, walking paths to wetlands. The site is right there on American Canyon Road and Wetlands Edge. However, we're lucky in that there's some lovely paths that lead right out to the wetlands area, as well as what provides water access. Teaching gardens for all sorts of garden science programs, indoor-outdoor program space. One of the things we've realized over the past few years is that kids are pretty resilient, and they don't really seem to mind being outdoors in poor or inclement weather for programming. But for longevity and for reliability, we really need a space to be able to do programming that can be protected. Loose parts nature play, such cool concepts of self-directed play and teamwork and creativity come out with this loose parts nature play idea, and we'd love to be able to incorporate some of those. And then finally, indoor-outdoor murals. There's some large spaces on the site for mural opportunities, both inside and out, and we would love to be able to work with the community to beautify the space with some murals. And this particular photo on the upper right is of this pine cone structure, which is really cool. It's made by a company out of San Francisco, and it provides protected programming space. And actually, you can even have campfires inside there at night. It's pretty neat. Additional features, interpretive signage. We've seen that out at the wetlands trails, interpretive signage is really popular and helpful for education and for just engaging the community. Interactive nature art and sculptures. We know that there's a desire in the community for more public art, and we would love to spin that and really bring a lot of nature-based type art or environmental art. So maybe provide a sculpture walk out at the site. Covered programming areas, again, providing that ability to have outdoor programming opportunities year-round, but with some protection as needed. And then on-site parking. One of the great parts of that, or one of the great things about that site, is that there is plenty of parking. We don't want to have to worry about parking spilling out into the neighborhood as well. And this guy is one of our, is this troll, nature art related troll, which we have always thought is pretty cool. But again, just an example of some of the different types of nature art and sculpture that can be done. And so how could the community use the space? And we've got all sorts of ideas, but we're very eager to hear from the community and see what everyone thinks as well. And sky's the limit with this. Any type of community programming, especially environmental focused community programming, would be excellent. Environmental sculpture display, as we just mentioned, educational classes. It's incredibly beneficial to be so close to schools, residential area, and even the Boys and Girls Club. And so there's just an incredible opportunity to have kids walk down for a variety of educational classes during the school day, or after school, or on weekends. Community events and camps. There's a variety of different things that we could do throughout the year, from nature-based art, and you name it, year-round. We could do summer camps, winter camps, Thanksgiving camps. Based on the wetlands, direct wetlands access, it's a great opportunity to support wetlands research. Wildlife programs, the kayak launch, as Jason mentioned, has been something I know the community has really been interested in for a long time, and it would be great to have this site there to support the kayak launch, possible rental space, and so much more. So really, sky's the limit here. These are some of the renderings that we had created. They're early, and we will be working with architects to see exactly what it would take to have this style of project implemented. But we think it does a really good job of showcasing the incredible potential of the space. There's a lot of open land around there. And one of the goals that we have with this site is to be able to soften the facade and make it more community friendly, beautify the neighborhood, and really make it feel like a neighborhood ecology center where people can come and enjoy programming and experiences. A couple things that stand out on these renderings are, again, the protected programming space. We have the large rolling doors like Boys and Girls Club has. Right now they're solid doors, but we would replace them with the glass doors to really beautify the area. Plenty of parking, as we mentioned, teaching gardens, some small nature play type areas. And the great thing about this site is it's not just limited to the front. There's plenty of room in the back as well. And so we really, we will really continue to refine this design and plan, I think, based both on budget and also community input. We've always viewed ourselves as being very partnership oriented, and over the past 5-6 years, we have partnered with dozens and dozens of organizations. And so we really envision continuing those partnerships. And in fact, we view this as an opportunity to strengthen those partnerships. Obviously, the City of American Canyon, a core partner through this project, we really appreciate. I want to take a moment and just say thank you to Felix for even broaching this idea, and Jason for supporting us as we've talked through this. Environmental and community and education partners. We've had just a variety of them. We're thrilled that the Sierra Club has come on board as a partner, both supporting us financially as well as through potential programming. The Napa County Regional Park and Open Space District and Resource Conservation District. These are all groups that have been partners with us for programming, and we look forward to being able to expand partnerships. Throughout the community, Boys and Girls Club, right around the corner. 4-H, for example, we're aware of their need for shop space. And so we've been talking with them about how this particular spot could support their need for that kind of programming. And a variety of other community groups that we've partnered with as well. And then finally, education. Again, it's just incredible to have a spot that's so walkable to elementary schools. So we really look forward to being able to continue those education programs that we've done, but bring them to the site and have the kids be able to walk over. We've also been in discussions with the Napa County Office of Education, or we're just starting those discussions. And these are below that is some of the partners that we worked with for our after-school enrichment programs. It'll be great to be able to bring these partners back in this environment. So this will be a fundraising lift for us. I have to say, this is a big project. We're excited about being able to kick off a campaign. And I do want to take a moment and thank all of the Fund a Need donors from an evening at the Ruins from the other night. Thanks to that event and thanks to the Sierra Club and their initial contribution, we were able to raise $120,000 in seed money for the project, which is fantastic because now we can use this as match money, and we can go out and talk to other organizations and donors. So we're really looking at a multifaceted faceted fundraising campaign over the next year. We'll be talking to corporate sponsors and private foundations. We'll be working on a community campaign, and we really value the work of both volunteers and appreciate in-kind donations. So we do envision this being a true community lift. We're refining budget, but we do think that this will probably be in the realm of about $1 million or up to or around that area to really make this a reality. And it'll probably wind up being a combination of all of these things. Some unique attributes about the site. I think as Jason mentioned earlier, this is an environmental center. And when you look at that theme, what kind of project fits better than a reuse project? We're not taxing additional resources. Rather, we're improving an existing building and we're making it community friendly. It provides an additional access point to wetlands. We've realized over the past couple of years how truly popular the Wetlands Trailhead is. And one of the things we like about this site is that it really spreads the wealth of wetlands access and provides a southern access point. That neighborhood and school walkability is huge. Again, being able to walk over from 3 different schools as well as Boys and Girls Club. It provides a new community programming facility. And we really do want this to beautify the neighborhood. We want it to blend in. We want it to be a source of pride. And so we're looking forward to hearing from the neighbors on that end. And then finally, it's really a timely project in support of environmental literacy. I think we've all felt the issues of climate change and environmental changes over the past year. And this is certainly a timely project. This is the time now to invest in projects that will connect our community to the environment and help them feel empowered and like they have a way to make a difference. Truly is a special site. These are some of our guiding principles of development, and I'm not going to go into these too much, but they're on our website. And this is really just about how we envision this happening and how we work with the community. So these principles of equity, environment, process, and community, really we want to reach everyone. We value diversity in American Canyon, and we want everyone of all cultures, economic means, and abilities to be welcome and able to participate. The Measure AA grant that the city got that will look at restoring parts of the wetlands is an incredible project. And what better way to involve the community in what restoration looks like by having an eco center right there on the site where we can make it a community education opportunity. We're looking at restoring an aging facility, and then also how we operate our business. So we're looking at what sustainability practices we could bring in that would support the broader vision of the center. We really look at our processes to be transparent and partnership oriented. And as I mentioned earlier, we want this project to strengthen those partnerships and connections. And finally, community. We want our community to connect to nature, as we mentioned, sort of the the tagline of this is where nature meets community. So we want our community to connect to nature and feel empowered to make change. And we want our youth to be exposed to careers in the environmental sciences so that they feel like they can make a difference. Okay, so I am going to show a short video, and this is actually a video that we had created for an evening at the Ruin. So you may see some familiar faces on here, but this really gives you a glimpse of some of the programs that we've done and really the potential and power of a space like this to help benefit the community in an environmental way.
One of the astounding aspects of ACCPF has been what we've been able to do with almost nothing. In the past 5 or 6 years, we've been able to go from offering 1 or 2 programs a year to offering year-round programs for all ages. And we've been able to do all of that with very few resources and without a home. The science programs at the foundation were always something that we desired. Kids really had a need to get hands-on in science, and especially in outdoor-related science programs.
And it's been amazing. They've actually looked at what's available in schools and what is absent in schools, and they've started to fill those holes.
Where the pollen is there, that's right.
Between busy schedules, digital technology, and just busy parents, it's harder and harder for kids to be connected to the outdoors.
I'm a mom of 3 boys, and we've done a lot of activities. It's really active, hands-on learning. They learn and internalize what they're learning in such a different way. They touch, they feel, they smell, they hear.
We think that kids learn more deeply when they're learning hands-on. We take that core belief through all of the programs that we offer.
It's educational, but it feels really fun. So the kids are learning about science without realizing it.
Our education coordinator, Joy, will be working with kids on a nature journaling activity. They're outdoors in the open air, they're studying the flowers, they're studying insects, and then they're reflecting on what they see. And the kids are so engaged in it and they're having so much fun, they don't even realize they're learning.
So out of the wetlands, we do everything. When we're out hiking or doing our nature walks, you have to stay open to anything.
Oh yeah, so those are the swans, and they mate for life.
They say it's even more ecologically diverse than the Amazon forest. It's pretty astounding as far as what you can learn. Even if you don't believe you have a scientific brain, I think if you learn how to ask questions, what do you think, and observe, especially from a young age, any challenge you're faced with, it gives you those skills to overcome them and to just grow and do better. We got teens involved with our programs because younger kids always look to teenagers as magic.
We just volunteer for a lot of community events that are catered towards younger kids.
So there's a lot of mentoring going on in our programs that just naturally happens.
We want to start utilizing those guys more, not just as volunteers, but possible leaders of our classes.
It's really important to expose younger kids, younger audiences to things like this because, as we all know, we are going through a climate crisis. It's a climate emergency.
I think the focus on science specifically is honestly critical. With our droughts, with our fires, with sea level rise.
It's discouraging and it's upsetting and it's scary. Climate change is a huge issue. It's something that will and has impacted us all, especially living in American Canyon and Napa County when we have wildfires practically yearly.
We really need to pay attention to this. These are all issues our children are probably going to have to deal with hands-on.
We want them to touch and feel the earth so that they grow to love it. And when they grow to love it, they're going to want to protect it. That's really where we come in.
I hope to grow these programs. We all hope to grow these programs. The demand is there. But right now we've kind of hit a wall as far as what we can do because we don't have a space.
They're really operating out of the trunks of their cars.
And so there really needs to be a home base for this kind of study.
The Ecology Center is a very timely project
and something that all of American Canyon can get behind. It's in a very unique and special spot, and then it's situated right on our wetlands. An eco center would also allow us a home base for doing our docent-led hikes, our educational hikes, our family hikes. We'll be able to expand nature, art, and science programs for all ages, education for everyone.
To help us take care of the planet, to me, that's really important.
I mean, that serves us all. It benefits us all. There's really nothing like it in the Napa County area.
It does give me hope for the future. It shows that these adults care.
Right now, it's little decisions that have a huge impact.
The reason it's important to give to the foundation in order for them to build this center is that future generations will be able to enjoy the wetlands like we do. In fact, even better, because they'll have grown up with it and they'll show that respect for nature, and maybe they'll spread it.
We need your support. Thank you so much for making this happen.
Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dream.
Okay. Oops. Excuse me. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up our presentation. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I always feel like it's really powerful. And again, it just goes back to how timely this is, this project is. You know, this is the time to invest in the future, and we do that by providing a home for it here in American Canyon. We've got so many ideas for programming and so many ways that we would love to see this project roll out in the community. But what we know it's not just us, and we really do want to hear feedback from our council and committee and commissions, as well as the community. So really eager to hear back from you guys. Welcome any questions, suggestions, or comments. And also for more information, you can find all of this on our website at acparks.org, including the video that we just showed as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I will stop my share and turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Janelle. Thank you for the presentation and the video and everything. It's really, really fascinating possibilities, really great stuff. So thank you. Mayor, what I'd like to suggest now is that we have first an opportunity for members of the public, if there are any members of the public that want to provide some input. And then it would allow commission and committee members and council members to put some of their thoughts together, and then we can you go through the raised hand process with folks here up on the screen. Just before we launch into the public comment process, wanted to talk specifically about in the staff report, there is a minor thing that we're asking of the city council. We do want to launch into the technical process of negotiating a lease. Staff thinks it's appropriate if we had the city council appoint 2 members of the city council to join myself and Bill and other key staff members in this negotiating committee. And we don't have to do it right this second. We can do it here at the end of the meeting, but wanted to just make sure we do that and don't forget to do that. So if there are 2 of the council members who might be interested in that process, we understand that the foundation will be going through a similar process, and that group, will be again negotiating that lease agreement. But as far as the programming and as far as what is going to be, that's really for the public input. And I think it would be a good opportunity now, Mayor and Teresa, to start calling upon members of the public for their perspectives.
That's a good approach. I'd agree. We can hear from the public, then that helps expand our knowledge and the interest of the communities, that this is going to be a very community-oriented operation and project. So public comment is now open.
Okay. First on my list is Tammy Wong. Go ahead, Tammy.
Hello, good evening, Mayor, Council, Commission, members. Hello. First, I think it's wonderful that you're all together as a joint body. I love seeing you all together to have this great exchange of information. Janelle, thank you for the great presentation. I am very enthusiastic about what you're proposing. My biggest problem with it, though, and I'm sorry, I did send a public comment in and I should have included you on it. I'll send it to you after the meeting. Historically, the city has a very poor track record of maintaining the parks. And to me, this is just another great park enhancement that the city is not going to maintain. I live across from the Wetlands Linear Path, which is very visible and highly used. And it's basically turned into an eyesore the length of the city. There's so much, dead shrubbery that hasn't been replaced. It's an eyesore. And my biggest concern is that the city continues to develop more park resources and we're not even maintaining what we already have. For example, someone was telling me they live over by Northampton Park. There was a problem with the water fountain. So the city took care of it. They removed the water fountain. There's no water fountain there now. And so it's sort of like, and I see as one of your benefits, you installed the water fountain at the Wetlands Edge Park, which I loved. ACCPF did it and I love it, and my friends go there, their dogs drink out of it. I think it's so neat. But what is the city waiting for? Are they waiting for you guys to put in another water fountain at the one where they ripped it out? I mean, this is just wrong. I think before we go and we keep developing and developing and developing, we need to take care of all of our neighborhood parks across the entire city instead of trying to develop a new regional resource to put us on the map. I think we need to get back to basics. No disrespect to you, Janelle, or your organization, or all the great things you envision, but to the city and our city leaders, come on, we need to take care of our city. And I please consider that. I don't know how maintenance is going to evolve into this, but that was my first thought when I saw this. I like it, but I'm really concerned about maintenance of park resources all across the city. Thank you for listening.
Great. Thank you, Tammy. I have Melissa Lamatina. Go ahead, Melissa.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I agree with Tammy regarding maintaining our parks, but I also think this is a no-brainer. It checks so many boxes, and I would love to have this in our city. I would definitely. I need a kayak ramp for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have Hugh Marquez. Go ahead, Hugh. Hugh, you're muted.
I'm getting there. Hi, my name is Hugh Marquez. Thank you, Council and Commission. I'm in favor of the Eco Center. Thank you, Janelle, for putting it forward. I think that's a great spot for it to be in. Many years ago, I've walked out on behind the Public Works back when there was no fences, and it's very nice back there. And I think the public should be privy to those beauties. I think it's good that you decided that the city is considering having it in that area versus over there by the Spirit Horse, which was the initial proposal. That was this initial city idea. As the separation of the two areas will definitely be beneficial for our city. I do agree with Tammy that I think our city should concentrate on our older parts of our cities in our parks. The fountain is a very big issue for me in Northampton, and I understand what she's talking about. But I do think Janelle and if the commission and the city council wants to go forward, I do think this would be a very beneficial center for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. I have Justin Hamilton Hole. Go ahead, Justin.
Thank you, Teresa. And hello, Janelle. Good to see you. I'm going to say good to see you all. This is a wonderful here. Join me. I wanted to say that is so gonna be perfect. I never see the building in a long time. And I was walking down with the edge and thinking, where can I put the new building be? It's very nice, and I see the picture and the artifact. So I'm yes, let's do it.
Thank you, Justin. I have Chris James. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, thanks this evening for a great presentation, Janelle, and thank you, Council and Commission, for getting together tonight. This is an awesome opportunity to discuss this. I'm 1000% behind this. I think Janelle and her team are just do an awesome job in the city. I think they go above and beyond in everything they do. Everything I think they've ever touched on, they've been successful at. So I do really support this. I've talked to a number of the neighbors about this project. Most of them, I think, unanimously supported. I know people that live right opposite. They've been enthusiastically talking about it. I know that there's been a lot of talk over the years, when they first moved in, about relocating the yard. So I think this would be fulfilling that promise. I guess it wasn't a promise, but that discussion, closing the loop on that. I am very confident that the Park Foundation would do their part in maintaining their portion of it. I'm very skeptical about the city taking on more parkland, and the delineation between what the Park Foundation is going to be doing and what the city's doing. I'd be interested to see how that will be fleshed out. The city is taking on yet another park in addition to Clark Ranch, and the dozens of other parks and little mini parks we have around the city. And I'd like to back up what Tammy was saying about the maintenance on the linear park and down Wetlands Edge and all the other trails that are in disrepair right now. We need to figure out, if it's a funding issue, then we need to figure out, a funding source for that. But we are, let's support our parks and the foundation in this, and it'll be exciting to see how this moves forward. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris. I have Chris Benz. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. Tonight I'm speaking for the Napa group of the Sierra Club, which has supported ACCP&F with a $10,000 grant for planning and development and a commitment of an additional $50,000 toward the project. These funds became available through the Roll-Off bequest, which aims to empower and protect the San Francisco Bay and shoreline communities from sea level rise due to climate change. The project is being funded because it's important for the entire Bay Area as well as the community. Last May, the Sierra Club presented a 3-day webinar series called Why We Need Nature-Based Adaptation to Sea Level Rise. And the stars of the show were the tidal wetlands, particularly on the north side of the bay. This again emphasizes the value of an educational center physically based in the wetlands as a regional resource. So I urge you to think big when you're looking at supporting this project. It's great for the entire region, and I think there will be additional funding because of that aspect. So we are very happy to support the Parks Foundation in this development, and we thank you all for your support.
Thank you. I have Valerie Zizak-Mores. Go ahead, Valerie.
Hello, Teresa. Can you hear me?
Yep, I
Yes, we
hear
can.
you.
Go ahead.
Great. Hello, everybody. I'm Valerie Zizak-Mores, your President CEO here in American Canyon. I am happy to be here tonight. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's on the call, who's taken time out of their day to listen to this important topic. I'm not necessarily representing the chamber, as this is not a topic that's gone to vote with our board, but I'm here more to talk about the tourism perspective. I think most of you know that along with our Chamber of Commerce, we also have a welcome center. And I run that Welcome Center day to day, and we get visitors that stop in from all over California, all over the United States, all over the world. And I really truly believe that being able to send our tourists to a destination like this, so special here in our city, would be just absolutely amazing. I mean, I hear time and time again how beautiful our trails are, but to have the educational component that could really add to what these visitors are seeing and experiencing when they're here, I think would be such a wonderful addition to American Canyon. So tonight I'm speaking on behalf of the Welcome Center and not necessarily my chamber board, but I truly believe that this center that Janelle and her team, working side by side with the city of American Canyon, has come up with is just absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to spread that light to our residents and to everybody on the call tonight. So thank you so much for having me and letting me give you the insight from the American Canyon Welcome Center perspective.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Okay, I have Kasama Lee. Go ahead, Kasama.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for, it's really lovely to see all of your awesome faces. Many of you I consider personal friends, and thank you for giving so much into our city. I appreciate that. I just want to say that kudos to this big vision, right? I mean, I was a founding member of ACCPF when nobody believed that this was going to be happening. So to see where we are today is amazing. But what I want to say is American Canyon. So I have a pretty good market share in real estate representing sellers and buyers in American Canyon. I'm so proud to live here, and we're still a hidden gem. This center is going to be another bright light that represents the lifestyle of American Canyon. We're like this tiny little city of like, what, 22,000 people, 6,000 homes, and we're sandwiched between two big cities. And we have all these really cool, one of a kind, right? Our trail, our nature, and now this eco center. And I think that, yeah, we need some cleaning up, and every city does in their own scale. But I think that we need to really all get behind making our city, creating a bigger footprint of what American Canyon is that hundreds and thousands of people do not know about. And I have to tell you, there are people that are targeting to move to American Canyon. I don't know how they do their research, but they want to move here. They're very clear about it. So I just want to say congratulations. I'm right behind you. I'm so excited. Bring on the whatever the kayak thing and the whatever you guys are doing. I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader, one of the biggest cheerleaders. There are many cheerleaders behind this. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kasama. I have Patrick Long. Go ahead, Patrick.
Patrick Band, Executive Director.
Sorry,
Napa County.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Executive Director, Napa County Bicycle Coalition. We're certainly very excited and supportive of this concept. The couple comments we want to provide tonight. We are also very interested in seeing the vision of the Clark Ranch master plan continue to move forward, particularly the bike skills course that was included as part of that project. And we feel that this eco center could be a great opportunity to accelerate the implementation of either a bike skills course or a pump track at the existing public works site to the south. We also feel like that location aligns very well with the city's adopted bicycle plan and plans for a future Class 4 separated bicycle facility on West American Canyon Road that would provide safe, accessible transportation options for kids and adults traveling east-west on that side of town. And then lastly, to support the idea of an eco center, we want to make sure that that location is as accessible as possible for active transportation. So thinking about including ample bicycle parking and other amenities to encourage people to travel to that location on foot or by bike. I'm really excited to see this project move forward, and we're happy to support it. Thank you.
I have no hands raised at this time.
Very good. Thank you.
Oh, wait, we got a late, we got a late entry. Oh, Beth, did you want to make a comment? Yep, okay. Here we go. Okay, I have Beth Marcus. Go ahead, Beth, you're on mute.
Sorry for the late entry. I was waiting for Fran to get on. She's always trying to get on this, and I know we had a long discussion today, so I'm going to speak on behalf of Fran and myself. First of all, I want to say thank you for everybody being here. It's great to see everybody's faces. You know, I look back and I think years ago we were known as the dump. Look what our dump has transpired into. We have such a beautiful location on Wetlands Edge. I'm so in favor of this eco center, and it has so much potential, and it's such an exciting project. It has an educational component to it. I mean, there's so much that our future children can learn about. And the one thing I want to say on Fran's behalf, and it has to do with the building itself, she had wanted me to tell Janelle that she thought a great thing for the upper level would be to have an observation deck, because there's so much there that we can just look out with. So again, I was waiting for Fran. I guess maybe she didn't know how to get on there. So thank you everybody for your attention, and great project.
Thank you. Okay. I have no other hands raised at this time.
I'd like to thank all the speakers for participating this evening. Good perspective and good to hear from the community on this very important project. Mr. Hawley, you mentioned the process you'd like to look at.
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm assuming probably everyone at least has some thoughts, but don't need to presume that necessarily. So I think we could go through the raised hand process with everybody here on the screen, and I'll let Teresa maybe kind of handle that, Mayor, and we'll go through the raised hand process. Once you're done, if you wouldn't mind lowering your hand, that'd be helpful so we don't get confused. But Teresa, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, sure. I'm just going to call in the order that they're on my list. So I'm going to call Barry Christian first.
I just unmuted, so hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you, Barry.
Okay, thank you. I'm a big fan of this project. It seems to me there's something really special going on here. Years ago, we would have been happy to just have a trailer or a container cargo put in place at Clark Ranch so that educators could store their materials and get kids out of the weather if they needed to and do environmental ed. And what's proposed here is just gone so much further and farther than that, just blows that out of the water. I think it's a great use. The building's going to be there. It would have been crazy, in my opinion, to tear it down. This is so much better to make use of it. From my perspective on the Open Space District Board, our district would love to be doing more environmental ed and programs for kids, but it's hard, it's expensive. And most of you know, we tried to get a tax measure passed. We had 63% approval, but couldn't quite get over that 2/3 hurdle necessary. So we're doing what we can, but organizations like Janelle's are so important to us because they reach out to the community and do these programs, and we can partner with them. We can do that much, but we can't really do these kinds of programs. And I imagine it's the same for the city and other organizations as well. So it's just terrific. Maybe my only concern would be that the ACCPF volunteers and staff burn themselves out in trying to such a huge project and try to take on too much pressure on themselves. And I kind of don't think that's what's happening. I think something's been unleashed here, and these guys have great ideas and energy, and they're ready to go. But I would be happy if it starts slowly and works its way up. Whatever they do, I'm supportive. I think it's just terrific. And North Slough comes all the way around to the back side of the courtyard, so kayaks can get all the way out to the river. You just need to walk out a little bit and launch there. I've done it. I think there's room for both Clark Ranch and the Wetlands Eco Center. There were plenty of ideas in the master plan for Clark Ranch that a lot of stuff couldn't fit in there. So I think we can fill them both up. And one other item that occurs to me is Valerie from the chamber demonstrated to us that you could close off American Canyon Road up near Elliott and have a great community festival. Well, it seems to me you could run that all the way down to the courtyard because there's no driveways on that street. So if you closed it off, you're not keeping people from getting into their houses. And you could make this, farmer's market or festival. You could extend it all the way down. So in that sense, I think it's a good location. And yeah, I'm supportive and great job, Janelle and your group. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, I have Nance Matson.
Hi, I've been dreaming about something like this for a long time. We've talked off, I don't know how many years in open space of, they keep talking about maybe they might want to move the courtyard and, how can we use this space and have it be outdoor education and wetlands access and kayak launch, of course. So I'm really excited about this. I also echo Barry. It is a big lift. And, I think it's going to take a village, but I think it's a great idea. So I think there's lots of opportunities there, not just for outdoor ed, but possibly 4-H shops or maybe the Arts Foundation doing some things there, nonprofits. There's a lot of people in this community that work together in different ways, and I think that we can all come together to make something magic happen there. That people will be happy to go down and do things at the Eco Center instead of wondering why is there a courtyard right here. So I'm in support and looking forward to hearing more about it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Clarence Namaro.
Great. Thank you very much. Everybody can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Very good. Thank you. So, yes, of course, this is a very, very exciting development. I know in my mind, when you're developing a retail center, an important part of that planning is having an anchor store. In my mind, the Eco Center is like an anchor store that will be a springboard for other things. I mean, I'm sure, build it and it'll come. In my mind, having an Eco Center there, it won't be too much of a jump to also have the kayak launch developed there in that area. So, it's very, once again, very, very exciting development. I have an orientation question, and Janelle, I hope you can help me out with this one. I see the renderings, and I know where the city corporation yard is, and it would just help me kind of to think about this. If there could be some kind of overlay. I guess the quick way to do this would be, I'm looking at the rendering with the, I guess, repurposed corporation yard and the cool pine cone structure. Would that pine cone structure be closest to Wetlands Edge Road, or would it be closest to the water?
Great question, Clarence. Yeah, the way it's showing in the rendering right now is that would be along Wetlands Edge Road. So if you were to enter to the gates right now and go directly to your right, it would essentially be right there. But again, the disclaimer on the rendering is that lots of that stuff, may get shifted depending on what we can feasibly do with the space and after talking with an architect.
Right, and I understand that it's probably not this scale or things are going to be moved around. So but it's helpful to just know a basic orientation for the rendering. So I know that an overall issue for tonight is site. Whether the Eco Center would be at the city corporation site or over at the Clark Ranch site. But just as kind of just as an umbrella, for an umbrella understanding, is it going to be basically cheaper and faster to build the Eco Center at the current city corporation yard?
Yeah, I can take that question, Commissioner Mamrell. The short answer is yes. I mean, any time you're taking an existing footprint and doing a tenant improvement and a remodel, it's going to be simpler and faster. So yeah, the quick answer is yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have Kathy Margalotti.
Hi, thank you. So I just want to say that one of my other hats I wear is I'm a teacher here for the Napa Valley Unified School District and have been in this district for 19 years. There's nothing like this anywhere nearby for our kids to go for field trips, for educational learning within the school day. And we love to take our kids on field trips when we're allowed to. Cost is pretty expensive for a lot of things when you're traveling and you're taking the bus and you're having to go an hour either way. There's nothing that's wetlands based anywhere near us. We've gone as far as both for amazing outdoor programming, Lindsay Wildlife, but it's nothing like what would be offered here. And to have something so close, I know that you'd have to probably get additional staff to keep that going all day long. It'd probably be booked way out. So I would love that. I know that as far as programming after school, on the weekends, for the whole community, I know there's so much that could be done there. So I would really look forward to that as an educator. And also I think it would just beautify the whole area. When I look at the renderings, I know I do have a concern too about park maintenance, where I live as well. And I've been watching it and observing. Just a question, the renderings look pretty like drought tolerant, not a lot of maintenance as far as what I observe. Is the funding I know for the Parks Foundation is to do this Eco Center, but as far as maintenance and the concerns that were expressed for the city taking that part over and potentially not managing it and the concerns that were brought forward, is there any talk or is that a part of the negotiations that yet haven't happened? Or I'm not sure who would be able to answer that question.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that, Commissioner Margalotti. You raise a good point, and that will definitely be one of the topics in a lease negotiation. So part of what we have to explore as the owner of the site is to understand what the potential tenant proposes to do, who would be responsible for what areas of the site, not just landscaping, but security, for example, becomes another aspect of it. Utility bills, for example, so there, as with any commercial lease, there are a number of parameters that must be negotiated between the landlord and the tenant. And so, being really mindful of what the reality of us being able to come in and maintain versus what other groups may be able to maintain, and mindful of the fact that we hope this location is very popular with visitors and with volunteers, and that may be the resource group who can actually be doing a lot of the maintenance. I think at the end of the day, if we have to have city staff there maintaining a lot of this, competing with all the other needs that we have, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So, I think we're going to be looking at so much of maintenance, so much of long-term maintenance cost and viability goes into the initial design of a system and initial construction of a system. And it's something we're putting a lot more thought into these days. What are we building now? How are we maintaining it? How are we anticipating the cost of that maintenance? And so we'll certainly be doing it with the lease negotiations, and then eventually as the project development occurs. Again, there's not going to be large swaths of turf and large areas that are going to take a whole force of landscaping help, because it'll be kind of counterproductive. And all of this will have to be done in a really environmentally friendly way as it relates to chemicals or those sorts of things, right? We can't be spraying Roundup or those sorts of things in and around the wetlands. So all of this is going to have to be carefully curated and thoughtful. And by doing it on the front end with a partner like this, we're going to be capturing all those thoughts. So, so yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you.
Great. I have Vice Mayor Joseph.
Okay, can you guys hear me and all that?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Good. First of all, I want to echo what everybody else has echoed. This is an incredible idea. What Janelle and the Parks Foundation has presented is clearly a much needed project. It will be an incredible asset to the community. I also think it needs to be part of a bigger, what I would call a Napa Bay Regional Park concept that incorporates the Courtyard / Eco Center, Clark Ranch itself, and sooner or later the old dump, because Beth Marcus is right. It's incredible that we went from being the dump to being a jewel. So I'm on board with the concept. A couple of quick comments. Number one, as I mentioned to the city manager a few months ago, my recollection is we actually have the right to basically acquire a couple more acres of land just north of the courtyard and be able to bring it into city ownership for development. So I think we should certainly pursue verifying that so that you have a bigger footprint, just because it never hurts to have more parkland, not less. Secondly, I would encourage that we master plan this entire courtyard. We've heard comments about a kayak launch, other uses, and I'm not suggesting we go out and hire a consultant for 50 grand. I'm just saying in designing the Eco Center to be mindful of all the other potential uses and try to put on a simple layout of where those things could be, so that as we develop, we have the opportunity to kind of make sure we develop in a manner that's orderly. Last, or third rather, and frankly, I was hoping we were going to talk about the Clark Ranch itself and how all of this is impacting what that master plan looks like, and perhaps at some point that'll be another topic. But I definitely think we can reimagine the Clark Ranch now that we're plucking some of the elements out of the master plan and moving it around. The last thing is the whole maintenance issue. And I hate to be a broken record, but this goes back to that capital set-aside fund concept that I brought up years and years ago, or deferred maintenance, as former council member Leary would put it. We definitely need to spend about 2 weeks figuring out what that annual nut is and how we're going to get there, because it's a false choice to say we either maintain what we have or build new. We should be able to do both. We should have a capital set-aside plan and deferred maintenance plan so that the funding is there on a timely basis to maintain and upgrade all of our facilities. And that ought to just be part of the day-to-day operations that really shouldn't be an issue. And therefore, we can talk about these new and exciting things. The fact that we haven't done that for years is precisely why every 2 or 3 years we get basically beat up over the fact that we're not maintaining stuff. So just a final pitch. Somebody spend some time figuring out how much we need. And for ballpark purposes, it's about $1 million a year, is my guess. And we need to deal with that so we can take that whole issue off the table once and for all. But back to the Eco Center, it's a great idea and I support it.
Okay. I have Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Teresa. And I echo like the Vice Mayor said, everybody that's been speaking here tonight. But I want to just say to Director Selleck, I appreciate your presentation today. And the environmental education piece to me is really important for the youth, for even somebody seasoned like me. So thank you. And I also thank you for your forward thinking. And I don't believe it's just a park. It's more. There's more to it than just a park. And to echo again on what Mark just mentioned, there's different ways, different processes to have the old parks maintenance taken care of and the new development. But us as a community, we also have to take some ownership in it as well. growing up in Philadelphia, my dad used to take me out to the parks and help and tell me that I need to fix some of the benches and take some of the graffiti off the benches and things like that. So it's easy to sit there and say what the city should do, but I'm one to say that, you know, we're also responsible too. So if we see some brushes out there that need to be picked up, pick them up. For me, this was more of a listening session. I wanted to kind of hear what people had to say. I find myself, being more educated by just hearing people's feedback. I like the method that the city manager, Jason, puts out, the who, the what, and the where, because that's my world. I live in that kind of world. And for me, this is a way for the community to help understand the relationship between ourselves, the air, the water, the minerals, and the organisms. So I think it's an awesome thing. I can't wait till this thing goes up and I have an opportunity to bring my grandson up and go to that little top of the building like Fran and Beth wanted to do, and I'll look out into the waters with them. So I think this is a great opportunity for us. My only concern would be, and I know Janelle, you're like, oh man, what's he going to say? My only concern would be is that this is an opportunity that American Canyon cannot just pass up on. I think this is awesome for us. To Councilmember Oral's thing he used to say, this is a destination location. I'm starting to believe you, David. This is our destination. So I just want to say that I think it's an awesome opportunity. And I did mention to Janelle that I didn't think I had the bandwidth or the opportunity to be part of a committee. But I tell you what, if you don't have no takers, I'm in.
I have Councilmember Abadamas.
Thank you. Thank you, Janelle, for your presentation. Thank you, everybody, for being here, members of the public, for your engagement. One thing I love about this community is how engaged everyone is. I echo the concern, and you've heard me say this a lot, especially the West Side Parks. Park maintenance is a huge concern for me, but one of the great things about our partnership with ACCPF, and Jason, you and I had this conversation earlier today, is their ability to do things faster than we can, and their ability to fundraise in ways that we can't, we being the city. So that's something to keep in mind during the lease negotiation for whoever's going to be on that subcommittee, is they can do things that we just can't do. Everyone who's a part of this panel today knows how slow city government works. And it's one of the most frustrating things of being a council member, right? Because we all get elected, and a commissioner and a committee member, because one of the things that happens is when we get elected, we got elected because something wasn't right. Something was speaking to us. We wanted to make change. Then we get elected, and the reality hits us of how slow things actually move. And it takes an entire term for us to advocate for something, for you to finally start seeing the fruit of your seed. With a nonprofit like ACCPF, how much did you say, Janelle? $120,000 in one night? We can't do that. We can't do that. That's amazing. That's incredible. That's a lot of money. And so I have a whole lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? I believe in this organization, and I believe in our partnership with ACCPF. And I think that this project, once it comes to fruition, is going to be such a major asset for our community and our residents and our kids. So thank you for that. Another thing that I wanted to address is the water fountain, just really quickly. Hugh Marquez, I think he's still on. He's brought it up to us a million times. The last I checked is that we had ordered a new water fountain for Northampton Park, and it was just taking forever to come in. Probably one of the side effects of the pandemic. It took me 6 months to finally get furniture in my house because the boats were stuck at the Oakland Pier for whatever reason, bringing in furniture. So Jason, if you can please comment on that water fountain, and hopefully this will be the last time it comes up.
Yes, I'm told it arrived in our corporate sometime in the middle of last week. We expect to be out installing it next week. It's a different water fountain than what was there previously. It's very similar to the one that's out there at the wetlands right now. So, more contemporary, more user-friendly facility, and we expect sometime next week for it to be out there. So thank you.
Great. Okay, I have Karina Cervente.
Hi, good evening. It's great to see all the attendees. Wonderful that everybody's so supportive. So I really enjoyed the presentation, and the video were really excellent. One thing that kept coming to my mind was we lost Napa Wildlife to the other place in Napa, and I don't want to see us lose this opportunity to have this beautiful center. I think it's going to be the easiest place to get to, and it'll be the easiest to give directions to people. You just tell them, just keep going to them and you'll find it, right? It's in a beautiful part of our city, wonderful central location, I feel. There's a couple of things that I want to comment on. One is, how can we partnership with folks in the city and other organizations to make a safe routes for the other elementary school on the east side of town. It will be good to have some equal accessibility, and perhaps I brought this before a few times to council, is having pedestrian beacons on those busy streets along American Canyon Road. Broadway is one of them. Also, Chaucer, Elliott, and Hummingbird. You know, that you know, it's a long way for Canyon Oaks Elementary to get there, but you know, it could be a fun field trip. But we really need to make sure that we have some safe ways to get there. And right now, all those intersections, as it is, they're not very safe to cross with kids or bikes. But the other thing is, so I saw a lot of things on the rendering, but I quite didn't see it much for older teens, and I'm wondering, you know, if there's any things in the works that also include older teens in this center. Council member Joseph mentioned that there's 2 acres there that might be able to be purchased, and perhaps adding things for teens there to do could be, you know, a good idea. And lastly, you know, we do need to, I agree 100% with Council Mark Joseph about getting some sort of revenue going to update our parks. We do have parks that are not finished. Veterans Park is not finished. I would like to see, you know, in the future, near future, some update on that as well. So other than that, we should not lose this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, I have Kristen Einberger.
Yes, thank you. And thanks, Janelle. That was a great presentation. I think, like everyone else, think this is super, super exciting. Makes me really proud to be a member of a great community. One concern I would have, I just would want to make sure that this doesn't put, something like this doesn't put Clark Ranch on a back burner or minimize it. So that's one concern. And the other, you know, it's been great to work with ACCPF. It's with their hat I have as co-president of Seroptimist, and we have been a very proud recipient of some funding from ACCPF and have done one project together. What I would like to see, I mean, it's great great for everything this does for youth, but I would also like to see what the benefits would be for seniors in our community, because I think they're a very important part, and they're a lot of us, because I'm one of those, are very environmentally connected and aware. So I would like to see something specifically for seniors in this. So thank you.
Yeah, I have Kim Hester Williams.
Thank you. I want to express a lot of gratitude to Janelle and the Parks Foundation for not only this, this presentation, the potential of this eco center, but also all the work that you've done in the community and all the contributions you all have made to the community. I want to especially thank you for the presentation and for including the issue of equity and diversity. I thought that that was really well spoken and well integrated, and it really made me feel even more motivated and more excited about the project and about the Eco Center. I think accessibility is a huge issue, and it's one that we need to keep at the forefront of this project. And I just really appreciated how you integrated that into the presentation and how thoughtful you were about including the issue. Commissioner Einberger, I really appreciate you bringing up the issue of seniors, but I think that's part of the issue of equity and diversity. Having accessibility for seniors, having something that is for everyone. And I think the Eco Center has that potential. And that's why I'm fully in support of it. I'm in, agreement with what everyone has said about the potential benefits of the Eco Center. And so I fully support it. And I just wanted I don't have any questions. I guess a concern would be the cost, and if it's going to be primarily fundraising that is going to, foot the bill, if you will, for this, for the Eco Center. That was one question that came to my mind immediately. But I know the resourcefulness that the Parks Foundation has, and it seems to me that is probably what is. The intention would be to do a lot of fundraising, and you already have, the accessibility to, speaking as an educator myself, I think your accessibility to grants and funding for this project will be, forthcoming. And that was one of the comments spoke to that. So I just want to really, I wanted to express both my support and my gratitude for this. I think that, it will be a wonderful addition to not only to this community, to our local American Canyon community, but just to the Bay Area, and just a contribution to the crisis of climate change, the repurposing of the building. This draws upon many of the crucial issues that we're facing with regard to global warming and climate change. And so that makes it really an essential project. So thank you.
Okay, I have Gina Griggs.
Hello all, good evening. Thank you very much. So just to start off by answering the question that City Manager Jason Hawley proposed as the focus for tonight's feedback as far as where the Eco Center should be located, I'm in full support of this location, of it being at the courtyard and relocating the current courtyard. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity to have a site that could be repurposed, that is right along the wetlands and just so aligns with everything that the Eco Center would be used for. It says that in the Clark Ranch master plan, that it would be an indoor interpretive recreation and community space with classrooms and multi-purpose rooms to support programming and exhibits and rental/bike kayaks. And I think that this proposal, this location incorporates all of that. I think even better than the pre-proposed or the previously proposed location of Clark Ranch, just because it is actually closer to the water. And then that location can be connected to Clark Ranch and the other wetlands entrance with trails. So I think that is fantastic. I'm curious about the phases of development and just how long it would be for this project to come to fruition, because I have seen many times in the past our city get very deep in the mud in the planning phases and have a lot of challenges bringing projects to fruition. So I look at this as an opportunity to take a project and bring it to fruition in a timely manner to get that trust to our community members that we're going to take on a project, we're going to collaborate as a nonprofit and as a city, and community members are going to get involved, and we're actually going to make something happen. This is going to become a reality sooner rather than later. Like, meaning before my youngest child goes to college. So 10 years. Goals, actually at 7. Sorry, she's getting older. COVID happened. So a couple other things. I think Karina mentioned this about the school on the east side, Canyon Oaks. I think it's potentially walkable for Napa Junction, potentially walkable for Donaldson Way. Probably more for 4th and 5th graders. I'm sure Commissioner Margolotti can speak to how long it would actually take to get a kindergarten class from Donaldson Way to even this site. So maybe as far as field trips are concerned, it's more of like a half-day Wednesday field trip, and parents are just dropping off and picking up directly from the Eco Center. Because we are so fortunate to have a small city as far as square mileage is concerned. So it wouldn't really be any further for anyone to travel. To hit on what Valerie said, this is a major opportunity to attract tourism. And it sort of cements our identity as a community of wetlands, trails, eco-education, and the outdoors. Napa is known for wineries and wine, and this is what American Canyon can be known for. And then my last thing would be, I'm wondering if there's any opportunity to have a food truck or coffee stand or whatever it might be. We've seen how a plain cup of black coffee can just draw people out to the wetlands. It's going to happen again this weekend. It's an amazing thing. You do coffee at the wetlands and they all will come. So I wonder if that's an opportunity to get people to sort of hang out and explore more than they would. And then, and then I was curious also about hours of operation, and if it would have to be staffed all the time, if you would be able to come and use the outdoor space anytime between dusk and dawn, kind of like the wetlands, and just the building would be closed. And then also the possibility of a rental, maybe that upstairs area that would be an observation deck when you had classes going, but then could actually be used as a rental space during evening hours. That would be a fantastic location. And we do run short on indoor rental spaces here in American Canyon. So that would be great too. So many opportunities, very excited. I'm 100% on board. I couldn't possibly have any more faith in Janelle and ACCPF in making things happen. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I can respond just maybe real quickly to some of those questions. Janelle, you might also have some thoughts. We're going to be starting into the lease negotiation process. So a lot of these details are going to get figured out in that process and subsequent sort of community engagement. So we don't have a lot of answers to all those questions or good ideas as it relates to specific timeframes on the city side. We're looking at being able to relocate our operations in the next 9 to 12 months. Really by the end of this fiscal year is what we had, sort of eyeballed for our purposes. And we're not 100% there. We don't have a project. We haven't appropriated money yet to do that, but we're still in the feasibility stage of that. But we think it's doable. From there, there's a cleanup process. We're going to want to vacate the site and not just leave it how it is. We're going to want to at least have some cleanup. So, I know the foundation is looking at that kind of time frame, and they're going to be doing the pieces that they want to do. But from the city side, we're looking at can we vacate the site and get out of there and leave it to then have turnover and then have major parts done by the foundation. We're still studying a lot of the site work and the site improvements, potential wetland creation. That will happen in phases. In fact, this whole area will probably get repurposed in phases. This won't be a big closed up fence and then construction and everything's done. It's definitely going to happen in pieces over time, starting with the city vacating and starting with some of the probably simpler pieces to do. The wetlands restoration, any of the trail access or kayak access is going to be a longer term piece, particularly because of the environmental review and permitting, et cetera, that's going to be required. But that can be independent of some of the thoughts that the foundation has. So you'll see activity happening in phases over time is the short answer. But Janelle, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I think, really good questions, Gina. And we also envision this kind of phased-in approach as well. And I think actually our timeline really aligns well with the city's timeline because we do have a big fundraising lift ahead of us. In a lot of the organizations that we've talked to, the private foundations and the grants that we're looking at are a year to a year and a half, 18 months, or maybe 2-year process. In fact, a lot of them like to come at the very end of fundraising and do gap donations. So we've got to get to a certain point to get, to really make this feasible. And at the same time, we have to really spend time and understand and refine our budget for the whole project before we really go and start collecting all of this money. But we do envision being able to hit the ground running, and once the city vacates the property and has done their cleanup process, that will come right in, and we will have the funds to be able to start repurposing and improving the site right away. And that's probably a combination of hired contractors as well as community volunteer efforts. And really, I appreciate so much the comments about how this center can bring the community together and how together we can embrace volunteerism and community support in the spirit of the environment and sustainability. And so we do envision being able to all come together, and everyone will have a spot in this project if they want to be involved. As far as hours of operation, it's definitely very early. But we know that we'll be able to transfer a lot of the existing programs that we have over to the site. But we also don't necessarily envision that we're going to be operating at 7 days a week for 12 hours a day. So that's where we envision, co-programming or shared use options with other organizations or groups that might want to have access to the center. And then I'll take just a minute and address a couple other questions that I heard. Commissioner Cervente, you had mentioned programs for teens. We actually piloted some teen programs this summer that were really successful. And so we envision we had a program called the Teen Play Team. And we learned a lot from this group, and what we realized, the teens felt very engaged when they had a spot, they had a job, and they felt like they were giving back to the program and the organization. And so we're looking at expanding that programming and continuing this mentorship with the teens and bringing it right over to the center. So that's just one way that we look at incorporating and providing teen programming. And Commissioner Einberger, absolutely, we look forward to working with Seroptimus to expand senior programs as well. One of the things I love about the space is it's very flat, it's very accessible. There's a lot of opportunities to do senior specific programming. It's not terribly far from the senior center as well, so I could envision some great opportunities there. And I think, Kim, you had mentioned fundraising. Yes, we are looking at this being primarily a fundraising lift, as well as a combination of grants, as you mentioned. We do look forward to going into negotiations with the city to see if there are opportunities for shared use for some of these bigger pieces that might be quite expensive. And so a lot of that will remain to be seen. But moving forward, we're just looking forward to being able to talk through these things and come to a consensus that works best for the community.
Okay, I have Tara McClinton Horner.
Hello. Well, Janelle, thank you for the wonderful presentation and inspiring video. That was really cool. Made my day. So I'm in full support of this project. There are similar concepts throughout the Bay Area region that have, the eco centers that pay attention to the local wetlands habitat. But they're mostly in the South Bay or the West Side or the North Bay. So it's very exciting to have our own local resource for learning about wetlands and environmental education. I love that this eco center supports council goals of promoting a unique community identity, tourism and destination for our outdoor recreation, and definitely look forward to that kayak launch. Hopefully that is a component. Like Karina said, I was saddened when the Napa County Wildlife Rehabilitation Center ended up not choosing American Canyon as their home base. For me, this kind of fills that void that was left there. And like Hugh Marquez mentioned, I appreciate the separation from Clark Ranch because it affords the center more space and parking, which I think it fully deserves. Not only does this asset, the center, have great potential to support and create more community pride, I see it as an investment in our children, our community, and our future. One suggestion when it comes to planning, I'd like to add is to have full control over facility lighting so that stargazing opportunities could happen without light pollution. I do have a question, maybe Jason could answer. I'm curious what the elevation of the property is and if the city has explored potential impacts of sea level rise at that site. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tara. I would say we haven't done any specific estimates of the potential effect on sea level rise. We are aware of a lot of the macro studies being done across the Bay Area, ABAG and other groups looking at both sea level rise, wave run up in the context of storms after sea level rise. And that's something we're gonna have to factor into this design. Conceptually, the facilities that we have subsurface already are hardened or will not be terribly difficult to harden against sea level rise, but the facilities that we end up creating, that are not utility but are more related to eco center are going to have to be thought through in that regard. One of the advantages of some of the wetlands restoration that we're thinking about is to create that buffer. We know that areas that are more natural are able to withstand the sea level rise than areas that are altered. And so we believe by some of that restoration process, we're going to provide some of that natural barrier and create areas for sea level rise to go and for wave run up to go during storms, and to create, those directed places. So we think that's going to be a strategy too. And the building itself, is a masonry building, so as we look at the doors and we look at the hardware and everything, we're gonna have to evaluate some of that, but it's not, we're not overly concerned with it at this point.
Okay, I have Celia Munn.
Yeah, Sela Munn. Does it matter? Hi all, I am Sela. Just to give some background, I am representing the youth. I'm the honor commissioner for the Parks and Rec department. So I am a senior in high school, and so I just want to give some youth perspective. It's just really quick. I remember being in elementary school and having to travel really far for an eco center, and now that we're able to have this proposal and this center, I think it's a great idea, and it gives easy access to children, whether they're doing it for school or they just want to go on their own. Speaking from a high schooler perspective, and I am very involved with school. I'm actually familiar with Emily in your video. She's my classmate, and I know that she's very passionate about the environment as well as other people in my school. I know that this center would be valuable not just to elementary kids, which it is like targeted towards, but also teens as well. And I think expanding the program that you had during the summer would really be helpful. I think a lot more people would be interested if advertised well. And so if you need some advertisement, I can get you in touch with counselors, and yeah, I have all the resources. So yeah, just to give that quick comment.
Okay, and I have Mayor Garcia.
Well, thank you. This has been a great conversation this evening. I think this is an ideal location, frankly. And Janelle, I really appreciate your presentation this evening. It tells a great story about who we are and where we can go. I think back on the wetlands, you couldn't get out there for a long time. It's closed off. Waste Management Authority controlled it. I was appointed to that authority by the City Council very early on in my process of being an elected official. And I always thought it'd be a great idea if we get out there. Well, couldn't get enough votes on the board because it's all vote by how many tons of garbage you produce, and our end is about 4%. But I got a new member on from Vallejo. His name was Tom Barty. And Vallejo has the most garbage. And we got it done. I told him after me, he says, Tom, come out here. I want to show you something. And he says, it's a great idea. Let's go to work on it. Here's the difference with that. When you can't go out there, that's the wetlands. That's the city wetlands or whoever's wetlands. When we get out there, you internalize it. That's my wetlands. That's our wetlands as a community. We all enjoy it. And we take ownership of that. And we want to protect it. And we want to learn more about it. And we want to pass that on. This it becomes a community value. I mean, look how diverse American Canyon is. Diversity, equity, inclusion. You include all the children in this community in this benefit of this proposed project, this eco center. I think it's fantastic because then families begin to own all this concept. They internalize it. And it's a value system that's crucial right now because with climate change is the action of human behavior. And to control that, we have to change human behavior. And one way you change that is you have that knowledge, that experience of seeing what are all the components of this wetlands? What's the value of here? How do we take that home and examine our own lives based on what we do that impacts all this? So it's a two-way exchange here. And I think this is that opportunity that provides that coming forward. The economic opportunity, obviously it's there. I mean, we have visitors who use the Wetlands Edge Trail already. Yeah, I've gone down there on many occasions and found bike riders coming in from out of town just to enjoy the bike path. It's 14 miles of trail. It's wonderful. Families use it all the time. Beneficial for mental health. I mean, thank God the escape valve for a lot of people during the whole COVID at its peak was I could go to the wetlands and take a walk. I can go to the wetlands and use the exercise equipment. I could be outside. I can social distance and still have a conversation with somebody else rather than the four walls of my house. So there's value in that as well. So I think that's going to be a way of drawing visitors to American Canyon. That with the ruins in Watson Ranch is another component that has that. So I think you can package those things together in terms of a way to enhance the visitors. The economics of it, in terms of the city, and I am concerned. I walk wetlands from time to time. I get my steps in, and there's a lot of it needs help. Clearly, that's probably the kindest way I can put it. But it's not always like the same thing I say about internalizing, owning it. We got a group of volunteers in town. We can do stuff. If there's contractor work that has to be done with heavy equipment, that's somebody else's job. Here's an example. I don't know how many of you know what a goat head is. That's a thorn sticker, we call them. They ruin bicycle tires. And dogs don't like to walk on them either. There's a portion of the community garden, the trail past that was just covered with them. Well, I got a group of volunteers wants to go out there with the community parks director. And we sheet composted all of it. You lay down cardboard, you put wood chips on top of it, there's no more goat heads. How much activity could we get just by weeding, taking care of the nuisance weeds out there with a volunteer group? There's an expense that comes from the community. Oh, by the way, I went out there and I cleaned the weeds from here to there. Yeah, that's my park. That's my piece of work. See, that builds community doing stuff like that. Yes, we do need set funds aside as a city to make some of these repairs. And as Barry pointed out, they just, how many votes short to do that 2/3? Maybe this type of activity engaging people in it says, I see the value in it and I support this type of initiative. So getting people engaged, I think, is truly crucial. I'm really impressed with American Canyon Community Parks Foundation. I came on board very early on, about the time we were having that conversation about becoming incorporated as a 501c3, and went forward. And just the energy, the leadership. Thank you very much, Janelle, and your team. Wow, and the board. I mean, they have accomplished incredible things to the benefit of this city, and that really, frankly, that brands American Canyon. That type of activity. This is who we are as a community. We support each other. We are diverse. We are inclusive. We want everybody to be involved in this type of thing. So I'm just thrilled about it. You can probably tell. I'm just, I'm excited about this thing going forward. And I think it's something that we open our hearts to share it with everyone too. We got a lot to benefit from it. Future generations will benefit from the message they receive, the engagement they receive from being very actively engaged in this type of project. Thank you. Any other speakers?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate the discussion this evening. I think maybe Mr. Oliver gave you enough to work with.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the feedback. I'm sure Janelle does too. As we start thinking about next steps, I do need the 5 council members to appoint 2 of your own to this lease negotiating committee. So if we can just have the other folks stay on and watch that. But if any of the 5 of you have ideas on how you want to do that, or a motion, or what have you.
Let's see. I think we have one volunteer already for that.
I did hear Councilmember Washington express interest, I think, in that. Right. Are there other council members interested? You're gonna have to take yourself off mute.
I'll step up and do it if nobody else is raising their hand.
All right. And council, are we all satisfied with that? Having no objection?
Teresa, can you go ahead and take the council members off mute so they're able?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
I think we probably need a motion to that effect.
Before we make that motion, and I ask Mr. Ross here, my wife is on the board of the American Community Parks Foundation. Wonder if that might be a conflict of any interest or impropriety. I don't know what the word is.
Well, yeah, what do you recall it?
We can't hear you, Bill.
The advice would be the same. I did it again.
All right.
Can you hear me?
You're breaking up a lot.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. The analysis would be comparable to that associated with the mayor, right? There's no conflict of interest. There's no financial conflict of interest. It's to that 3rd level. Appearance of impropriety. I think that is a decision you'd have to make. But I think there are mutual interests that can be affected here. So my advice would be there's no conflict of interest, there's no financial conflict of interest under the Political Reform Act.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
Yes, you can serve.
That being said, can we have a motion for that appointment?
Wait, before we make a motion, I just wanted to clarify. I think Councilmember Washington said if there are no other takers, he would do it, but he's stretched a bit thin. So Mr. Mayor and Mr. Vice Mayor, are you guys interested? Not to put you on the spot, but I'm trying to have Councilmember Washington's back because I know what it's like to have a full-time job.
I'm okay with, for me, I'm okay with Pierre and David serving.
I'm okay with that too.
And I'm fine with it. I mean, I think it's a good program. And I'm working with Janelle. I can't go wrong.
All right, then I'll go ahead and make the motion to appoint Councilmember Washington and Councilmember Oro to the lease negotiation subcommittee for this project.
And just a quick point of clarification, this motion is for a minute order, making that appointment. So Teresa, you can reflect that on the record.
I'll second it.
Oh, Mark second, okay. Roll call, please.
Okay, I just want to clarify, am I using Mayor Garcia as the second?
No.
Or-
Vice Mayor Joseph.
He's Vice Mayor Joseph.
Vice Mayor Joseph, okay. Okay, great. Councilmember Abadamos?
You're muted.
Did you hear me? I said yes, sorry.
Oh, okay, great.
Right now.
Okay, Councilmember Oro?
Yes.
Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Forward to some great work happening here. Thank you very much.
Well, that's all of the formal program that we had tonight, Mayor. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, well, we have concluded our discussion this evening. This has been very, very productive. And I look forward to a lot of accomplishments. I really appreciate everybody coming here, sharing the moment with us and your thoughts and your desires. And yes, it's going to take a little while, but I think we've got a lot of creative people on board. And that's what's going to make the difference. Most of all, I think we got a lot of people, the heart to get it done. We see the value in it for our community. And it'll be going by steps, but we're going to be there all the way. So thank you all for your participation this evening. And we will stand adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, American Canyon.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.